Story 1. What if you finally moved into your dream countryside home, thinking you'd escaped all the drama, only to discover that someone had been secretly living inside your walls the entire time, watching you, using your things, breathing the same air as you while you slept? My wife Sophia and I needed a fresh start. Her family had been suffocating us for years, so we packed up and headed to the remote hills outside Santa Fe, New Mexico. As an electrician, I can work anywhere, and Sophia hadn't been in an office for a long time. We found an amazing deal on a big ranch-style house surrounded by open land, way more space than we needed for just the two of us and our energetic black lab, Max. We figured the extra rooms would be perfect for hosting friends or turning into hobby spaces. It felt like the peaceful life we'd always wanted. For the first few months, everything was perfect. Quiet mornings on the porch, long walks with Max, no drama. Then the upstairs lights started flickering and tripping the breakers while the rest of the house stayed powered. I knew exactly what it was. A classic load imbalance. Easy fix for someone in my line of work. I hadn't spent much time in the basement since we moved in. It was just a cluttered storage area full of old furniture the previous owners left behind. I went down there, located the main panel, and quickly figured out the problem. Before heading back up, curiosity hit me hard. This was my house now. I should know every inch of it. As I looked around the dusty space, something caught my eye in the far corner. A heavy industrial metal door hidden behind stacked crates. It was taller and thicker than any normal door, with reinforced hinges like a bank vault. My heart skipped a beat. A tornado shelter? Why hadn't the realtor mentioned something like that? I tried the handle, locked. Upstairs, I went through every spare key the sellers had left. None worked. When I told Sophia, her eyes widened with the same excitement. We managed to contact the previous owners. The phone call felt off. They paused a lot, choosing their words carefully, like they were hiding something. When I asked about the door, there was dead silence. The wife finally said it was just an old storm shelter. I mentioned it was locked and we couldn't use it. Another long pause. She claimed they'd lost the key and told us to just ignore it. Her tone sent a cold wave through my stomach. It didn't feel right. Over the next weeks, that door haunted me. I'd go down and just stare at it, wondering what was behind it. I tried every trick I knew from work. Nothing. Eventually, I gave up, until 2 days ago. Sophia suggested hiring a locksmith. He worked for over an hour and even commented how unusually complex the lock was for a simple shelter. When he finally cracked it open, the smell hit me first. Stale, musty, like someone had been living there. Inside was a nightmare. Black and white photos covered the walls, all marked with strange symbols I didn't recognize. A single chair faced a blank wall, as if someone had sat there for hours staring at nothing. In the corner was a cot with crumpled blankets and trash scattered around. Recent trash. Chip bags, water bottles. Someone had been staying here. Not years ago. Recently. Then I saw the second small door on the far side. It led to stairs going straight up to an exterior cellar entrance I had never even noticed when we moved in. My blood turned to ice. Someone had been living in our house, sneaking in and out whenever they wanted. All those little things we'd brushed off, missing items, strange noises at night, suddenly made terrifying sense. I barricaded that exterior door with heavy furniture and a thick chain and padlock that same night. The police took a full report. Our realtor was horrified and promised to help. That evening, as we were getting ready for bed, a loud banging started on the front door. Max went crazy barking. Then small rocks started hitting our bedroom window. I grabbed a baseball bat, fury mixing with fear, and looked out. Nothing. Then came the sound of glass shattering downstairs. I sprinted down and saw 2 figures running into the darkness. The kitchen window was destroyed. The police searched everywhere but found no sign of forced entry back into the hidden room. Their guess? Whoever had been squatting there got angry when they realized they were locked out and came back to scare us away. Sophia has been a complete wreck ever since. I'm angry, terrified, and ready to defend my home. The police are trying to track down the previous owners, but it's been 2 full days with no answers. The intruders haven't returned yet, but every creak in the house now makes my skin crawl. I keep wondering how long they were down there, watching us, and whether they'll try to come back. Story 2. Imagine finally escaping city life with your young family, moving into what seems like a safe, quiet suburban home, only to realize that the innocent garden statues you loved are moving on their own, and then the threats get personal. A few years ago, my partner Elena and I were drowning in our tiny city apartment. 3 kids, endless baby stuff, toys everywhere. We couldn't take it anymore. We found a beautiful house in a peaceful neighborhood outside Portland, Oregon, the kind of place where neighbors still trusted each other enough to leave doors unlocked. It wasn't huge, but it felt like heaven compared to what we had. Elena fell in love with the backyard immediately. It had a slightly wild garden with several old stone statues scattered around, weathered angels and mythical figures that looked like they belonged in a dark fairy tale. They gave the yard a mysterious, almost gothic character. I didn't care much, so we left them exactly as they were. A few days after moving in, I was looking out the kitchen window when I noticed something strange. One of the angel statues was now facing away from the house, its back turned to us. The others still faced inward. I shrugged it off at first. Maybe I was remembering wrong. The next morning it happened again. Another statue had turned. This time I knew for sure. My pulse quickened. I asked Elena, but she just laughed it off. I even questioned our little prankster Tommy, but he looked at me like I was crazy. Still, deep down, I felt something was very wrong. Money was tight back then, and I lived in constant fear of losing my job. I tried to ignore the statues and focus on real problems. A few quiet days passed and I started to relax. Then one evening, my heart nearly stopped. All the statues were lined up in a perfect row right at the edge of the patio, staring directly at the house. Their stone eyes felt alive, boring into me. I broke into a cold sweat. It looked like something straight out of a horror movie. I went outside trying to stay calm, but when I tried to move one, I realized how impossibly heavy they were. No single person could have done this alone. Elena came out and her face went pale. We called the police, but they couldn't do much without evidence. They suggested cameras we couldn't really afford. We tried to hide everything from the kids, but the fear of not being safe in our own home ate at us every single day. A few more days passed peacefully. I started thinking it was over. Then one weekend morning, while playing with the kids in the yard, I saw it, spray painted in huge black letters across the back wall of our house. "Leave now!" Panic exploded inside me. I rushed the kids inside, told Elena to lock the doors, and charged into the garden screaming threats, adrenaline pumping. No one was there, but the message was clear. Someone wanted us gone, and they were getting bolder. The police came again, but without leads, they could only promise extra patrols. That night, Elena screamed from the living room. I ran in and saw 5 figures in white masks in our backyard, dancing in jerky, unnatural movements like broken puppets. It was the most disturbing thing I'd ever witnessed. We stood frozen in shock. I grabbed the biggest kitchen knife, yelled at Elena to call the police, and ran outside screaming like a lunatic. They scattered into the garden when they saw the knife. We barricaded upstairs with the kids until the cops arrived. Nothing was found. The next day, I installed security cameras no matter the cost. Elena begged me to move. I promised we would if anything else happened. Thankfully, the cameras worked. They never returned. We still live in that house today, but those statues are still there, and every time I look at them, that old uneasy feeling comes crawling back. We never got any explanation. Story 3. Buying your first home at 27 should be exciting. A quiet place all to yourself after years of living with a loud family. But what if the quietest neighbor on the block turns out to be the most dangerous one? After saving for years, I finally bought a modest little house in a quiet neighborhood in Asheville, North Carolina. I'd grown up in a chaotic home full of siblings and dogs, so the silence was the hardest part to get used to. Every night felt too still. What I loved most was the tiny ledge off my second-floor bedroom. It wasn't a real balcony, but it was perfect for stepping out after work to smoke and clear my head without stinking up the house. From there, I could see into the backyard of the house directly behind mine. After a few weeks, I'd met almost everyone on the street, except that neighbor. I never saw him or her outside. The yard was overgrown. The house looked neglected. I figured it was an elderly person who couldn't maintain it anymore. Curiosity got the better of me one Saturday. I walked around the block and knocked. The place looked even worse up close. No answer at first. Then I saw a slight movement behind the curtain. Someone was peeking. Suddenly, the door flew open with a violent bang. An elderly Asian woman stood there, short, with gray hair in a tight bun and wide, unsettling eyes. Her face looked tense, almost frozen. She stared at me without saying anything. I introduced myself as her new neighbor. She finally muttered her name was Margaret and gave a weak half smile. That was it. No questions, just staring. That night on my ledge, I looked down and there she was, standing motionless in the middle of her yard, staring straight up at my house. I felt a chill run down my spine. I went inside quickly. It got worse. The next night, she started watching me from different windows inside her house, moving from one to another. Even after I went inside, she'd still be there when I checked later. I called my dad. He said she probably had dementia and was just lonely. He told me to feel sorry for her. A few nights passed without incident, and I started to relax. Then I found a woman's sock lying in my yard on my side of the fence. She had been on my property. That night, the doorbell rang nonstop, at least a dozen times in a row. Annoyed more than scared, I went downstairs to tell her to stop. The second I opened the door, she lunged at me with a kitchen knife, screaming that I had taken her son. Her face was twisted in pure rage. I barely managed to grab her arm, wrestle the knife away, and pin her down while calling the police. She kept screaming and trying to bite me the entire time. Those 5 minutes felt like forever. The police took her away. They said she'd be sent for psychiatric evaluation. I never saw her again. The whole thing left me deeply paranoid. Less than a year later, I sold the house and moved. That experience taught me that sometimes the biggest threat isn't what's inside your new home. It's what's living right next door.